North America colonization, the journey of settlement, conflict, and change. The colonization of North America stands as one of the most pivotal chapters in world history, shaping the cultural, political, and social landscape of the modern Western Hemisphere. Beginning in the late 15th century and continuing into the 18th century, European powers ventured across the Atlantic Ocean to claim lands inhabited by diverse indigenous peoples. This era brought profound changes, from the establishment of early settlements to the devastating impacts of conflict, disease, and cultural transformation. In this video, we will explore the colonization of North America, focusing on the arrival of European explorers, the establishment of colonies, interactions and conflicts with Native American tribes, and the lasting legacy of this complex history. By understanding these events, we can better appreciate the diverse origins of North America's modern nations. Early European exploration and arrival. The story begins with the voyages of explorers like Christopher Columbus, John Cabot, and later Spanish conquistadors and French fur traders. In the early 1500s, Spain claimed vast territories in the southern parts of what is now the United States and Mexico. The English and French arrived later, establishing colonies along the Atlantic coast and in Canada. These early encounters were marked by curiosity and cautious trade, but also misunderstandings and conflicts. Indigenous peoples with rich cultures and established societies faced new challenges from diseases like smallpox brought by Europeans, which decimated many native populations. Establishment of early colonies. The early 1600s saw the founding of some of the first permanent European settlements. The English established Jamestown in Virginia in 1607, facing harsh conditions, but eventually laying the groundwork for British dominance. Plymouth Colony, founded by the Pilgrims in 1620, is remembered for its story of survival and the first Thanksgiving. Meanwhile, the French settled Quebec in 1608, building a fur-trading empire and developing relatively cooperative relationships with native tribes. The Spanish expanded missions and settlements in Florida, California, and the Southwest, spreading Christianity and Spanish culture. Each colonial power brought its own approach to settlement, governance, and relations with indigenous peoples. Interactions and conflicts with Native Americans. Relationships between European settlers and Native American tribes varied widely. Initially, trade and alliances were common, with tribes supplying furs, food, and knowledge to colonists. However, as colonies expanded, competition for land and resources led to frequent conflicts. Wars such as King Philip's War in New England and the Beaver Wars in the Great Lakes region devastated many communities. European colonization also disrupted indigenous ways of life, imposing new political structures and economic systems. Forced relocations and cultural suppression became tragically common, especially later in colonial history. Colonial life and economy. Life in the colonies was a mix of hardship and opportunity. Settlers engaged in agriculture, growing crops like tobacco, corn, and cotton, and developing fishing and fur trading industries. Towns grew with churches, schools, and markets. The Atlantic slave trade also became a dark part of the colonial economy, especially in southern colonies, where enslaved Africans were forced to work on plantations, creating lasting social and racial divides. Colonial governments evolved with assemblies and laws, setting the stage for future self-rule and democracy. Conflicts and wars. The struggle for control of North America between European powers led to a series of wars. The French and Indian War, 1754 to 1763, part of the larger 7 Years' War, was a decisive conflict between British and French forces, with Native American alliances playing key roles. The British victory reshaped territorial boundaries, with France ceding most of its North American holdings to Britain. This victory, however, sowed seeds of discontent among British colonists, eventually contributing to the American Revolution. Cultural and social changes. Colonization brought cultural blending, but also tension. European customs, language, and religion spread, often at the expense of indigenous traditions. Colonial society was diverse, including European settlers of different origins, indigenous peoples, enslaved Africans, and later indentured servants. This mixture created complex social hierarchies and cultural landscapes. Education and print culture developed, influencing political ideas that would later inspire independence movements. Path to independence and legacy. By the late 18th century, the colonies had grown prosperous and politically aware. Tensions with Britain over taxation and governance erupted in the American Revolution, leading to the birth of the United States. Other parts of North America followed different paths, with Canada, Mexico, and native nations continuing to evolve amid colonial and post-colonial challenges. The legacy of colonization is visible today in North America's cultural diversity, political institutions, and ongoing struggles over land and identity. The colonization of North America was a complex and transformative period marked by exploration, settlement, conflict, and change. It laid the foundations for the modern nations of the continent, but also left a legacy of displacement, cultural loss, and social challenges. By studying this history, we recognize the resilience of indigenous peoples, the impact of European empires, and the enduring quest for justice and self-determination.